Hello, I'm Rachel.
I'm Victoria.
And I'm Farron.
We've been friends and classmates since childhood with a common love for good books.
Join us as we revisit the books from our literature class days, timeless reads, and everything in between.
Let's go back to lit class.
Welcome back, everybody. We are doing our second book episode today, which is covering Holes by Louis Sacher. Just wanting to welcome everybody and especially welcome Farron and Rachel.
Hello.
What's up?
I'm going to start with Farron. What's new with you?
Yeah, did you have anything new happen?
Well, I had a baby, so that's pretty big. He's actually was 1 month old yesterday. So yeah, it's been going very well. We did have to go get his tongue tie lasered and lip tie and cheek ties, and I was like, oh. So he was a little sad about that, but he's tough.
Yeah.
Like his mom.
I don't know. He's adjusting well to it, and I think it's making everything better. Feedings go better. So, and then we had to go to the baby chiropractor, which it felt like they were like just holding him, slightly moving. And they're like, that's good. He's adjusted. Everything should be great now. One more appointment, done forever.
That'll be $100, please.
Yeah. It actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
That's good.
Yeah.
Does he seem less tense now? Is he a more relaxed baby?
I don't know. He did sleep really well today.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with our book topic for this episode, Holes. Rachel, do you want to go ahead and get us started kind of talking about the background of why we chose this book?
So Mrs. Herman, our 5th grade teacher, would read Holes to us. It was like our read aloud at the end of the day. She would sit on her step stool and we'd all have our backpacks packed up and she would read this book to us. That's what I remember about it.
Yes. And I was about to say, this was the first elementary school read aloud that I really remember as a chapter book, but that's a lie. We had others before that.
Yeah, we did the Boxcar Children.
But yes, I do remember it was probably one of the more memorable. Like, I remember the whole book, I remember the experience of having this book read aloud to us versus I don't have that same memory of other books. But I came up with some facts and a summary of the book. So I will start off with that. Holes was written by Louis Sacher in 1998 and won a Newbery Medal the following year in 1999. It was his best-selling novel and sold over 8 million copies worldwide and was adapted into a movie, which, we can talk about later if we have that desire. The book, Holes, is about a boy named Stanley Yelnats, and he is a young boy who is mistakenly sent to a boys' camp after being falsely accused of theft. Camp Green Lake is a camp for young criminals in a desert, and as the title of the book suggests, the young boys are forced to dig holes while at, quote, camp. The book takes place in both the present as well as the past, allowing the reader to hear stories of multiple people, and all those stories are intertwined and have affected Stanley's life in the present.
Did you only think of the movie when you were reading the book?
I was actually surprised I didn't.
Really? I had the whole movie playing in my head.
Yeah, it
the
was
whole
all
time.
I could think about. Every character, I could only see the movie character.
I think they did a bad job at taking the descriptions of the book characters and implementing them into the book characters, because they are talking about Stanley being this like heavier set kid and Shia LaBeouf was a scrawny kid.
True, yeah.
And like was it Mr. Sir was supposed to have like a full-on beard?
Oh, I don't remember that.
Was it Mr. Sir or Mr. Pendenski? One of them was supposed to have like, I think it was Mr. Pendinsky maybe, was supposed to have like a big old beard, and that was the opposite of what he looked like in the movie. I think the only person that looked like what their description suggested was the warden. I think she was a very good visual representation of the book character, but other than that, I don't think very many characters fit the description that the book gave. It didn't translate to the movie. So I was actually surprised that I made up my own and made, like, I'm wondering, is this what I visualized when I read the book in 5th grade? Am I just like revisualizing what I already visualized?
Yeah,
Or
I
am I
can't
coming
see.
up with new ones? I
I
don't
can't
know.
remember what I thought
Yeah, I
in 5th
can't.
grade.
I can only think of the movie, which I feel like we watch. Like I do remember going to the movie theater to see the movie, but I don't remember why. Like I watched it so much. As I don't feel like I watched it a ton, but I guess I did. I know we owned it.
Yeah. I watched it enough to remember the whole thing, basically. But I thought that the script was really good, the adaptation, but he
Yeah,
also wrote that as well.
Oh, oh, did he?
He did, yeah.
Probably why.
that's why. Yeah, I was like, it is a really good adaptation. I feel like in general.
I think it stayed true
But
to the story,
Mhm.
and they really, I feel like the movie really fit it all in.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it did.
And I like the little dialogue pieces that the movie had. Like, there were like exact lines that were
Mhm.
in the book that were also in the movie. And I
I
Yeah.
could
noticed
like
that
see
too.
them saying that
Uh-huh.
those exact lines.
Yep.
It was really fun.
In the book, they talk about how like all young kids dig holes to places. Did you guys ever dig a hole? And
I've
where did you
always
try to dig to?
I I super related to that when they're like, everyone wants to dig to China. I'm like, yes. Um, my brothers and I, we always wanted to try to dig a hole. I don't think we ever did because we knew that our dad would be so very upset if we ruined the yard. And so we never ended up digging this hole, but I feel like we talked about it a lot.
My sister and I dug, I think it was to China. That sounds right. But
Yeah.
we had like little gardening shovels. That's how we were digging in the backyard.
I don't remember ever doing that. We just wanted to open other portals to other dimensions so we could go to like Hogwarts or something.
Oh,
You are way normal.
It's easier than digging a hole.
more magical.
I also didn't put together that Madame Zeroni and Zero. Like that's
Ooh.
obvious. Like it seems very obvious.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that till you said it right now. So
Maybe it would like, because I did the audiobook, like I want to say because I wanted to get the like relived experience of having it read to me as a kid, but really it was because I had a lot of driving to do this week and I bought the book for a couple bucks and then still wound up buying the audiobook and listening to
oh,
it. I had these thoughts about how I really enjoyed the book. I didn't know how I was going to feel about it because it is a pretty young kids book. It's not meant for high school age. It's meant for, you know,
it's
upper
middle grade,
elementary
right?
grade, middle school
Yeah.
grade.
I had to really try.
And so I was a little bit nervous thinking that I was going to be bored. Maybe because I did audiobook, I was less bored than I would have been if I would have read it. But I really liked the fact that it was adventurous and still pretty like fantastical. It had those elements of unbelievable with the like curse of the no good, dirty, rotten, pig stealing great great grandfather and the gypsy Madame Zeroni, and how all of this kind of comes into play to affect Stanley's life generations later. I really liked how like fantastical it still was while also being very real life. There was a lot of cool connections between the past and the present stories and I really liked how that was written. It jumped back and forth
Mm-hmm.
and even it jumped like at the end of the book after people were killed off. You still heard stories about them from when they were alive. It wasn't, they died, we're done with them. You still got bits of how they are connected to events that were happening in the story to answer questions of why did that happen with the like onions and the yellow spotted lizards and why they weren't biting the boys.
I feel like I really enjoyed the book this time around just as much as when I read it in 5th grade. It was just very entertaining. It held my attention. I love how all of the storylines, you know, come together at the end, and all the little pieces with the yellow spotted lizards and the onions, the treasure. Yeah, I just thought it. I think it's a really great book. I love Kissing Kate Barlow. I feel like we didn't talk about her at all, but that character, I love her character. And did you guys actually know that the warden was supposed to be like the great great granddaughter of Kissing Kate Barlow? But the author liked Kissing Kate Barlow's character so much when he was writing it that he decided that the warden could not be related to her.
When I was reading it, I was trying to think back about, is the warden searching for the treasure because it was her like great great grandmother's, or is it because it was her family who was done under
She was
by
related, I thought, to Trout Walker.
that's
Oh, okay.
her ancestors.
Yeah.
But I couldn't remember when I was reading in the beginning who she was wound up being related to, and I was hoping that it wasn't Kate Barlow because I didn't think that was like justified.
Yeah. Because you don't like the warden, but you like Kissing Kate Barlow.
Yeah, she is like women empowered and social justice and takes it into her own hands to right wrong. She's like a Robin Hood character.
Yeah. She was a scorned woman.
Yeah, she was a scorned woman, but also I just really felt it was not just that they killed the person she loved. They did it strictly because he was a black man.
Yeah.
And they think that was right, and she didn't think that was, she says that like we're all the same in the eyes of God. I definitely think that's something that I didn't notice as much when we read it as kids, was probably some of the social issues that it actually touches on, which I really noticed reading it again as an adult.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't get those things reading it in 5th grade when I first read it, but I do remember picking up on them from the movie because it was visual and like it was like very obvious there, whereas I probably wasn't either like paying attention or it wasn't like the main point of it, so I wasn't thinking about it, but I do remember that from the movie.
And I don't think that he gives a whole lot of like skin color descriptions.
He does because
Well,
he
he
just
describes all the boys.
yeah.
It just didn't stand out as much as like in To Kill a Mockingbird.
But at the same time, it's also why like it makes Kissing Kate's character because of the conflict that happens in the town. So
definitely makes her character more interesting, I think.
Yeah.
And more complex. I liked all their love story too. Where he's like, I can fix that.
I can fix that. I know.
Such a great one.
Yeah, I can
just
hear
great
this,
line.
like the actor in the movie saying, I can fix that.
I know. I was seeing it and I was like, my heart's melting.
Guys, Sam is Burton Guster from Psych, and I can't unsee it.
Oh, I haven't seen it since because I didn't watch Psych. I've seen Psych now, but I haven't like watched Holes after seeing Psych.
Oh.
Sure,
No.
it would. Yep.
So all I see is like Burton Guster playing Sam.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm gonna be able to unsee it.
Yeah, it's hard for me, but it's almost like, where did my love of romance and stories start? Sam and Kissing
Holes.
Kate.
It is so sweet, but also, when I was reading the book this time, Sam is he thinks he can fix everyone's problems with onions.
I love it.
That's a problem.
Perfect. I was like, natural remedies, you go.
Oh, yeah. As the person who puts coconut oil on her face.
Absolutely.
It's like, this onion will fix my arthritis.
I will not be bald. This onion.
Something that I didn't connect the dots in, even like watching the movie or reading the book when we were younger, was kind of the significance of him finding a lipstick tube with the treasure, because she was kissing Kate and she would put the red lipstick on her after she
Yes.
killed people and
Victoria.
then killed them. And I didn't connect those dots until this time. Like, I was always wondering, why was it a lipstick tube? Just because she was a girl? I was a little oblivious. You know,
You can learn something new every time you reread
every
something.
time. Every time.
Your notes are very like well thought out, and you've really thought critically about the themes of the book. And mine says, why didn't they have a metal detector?
Okay, I just want to let you guys know I finished this book at 5 p.m. It is now 9 p.m.
I also finished it at that time.
I finished it today. Farron called me and I was like, I can't answer her phone call. I gotta finish this audiobook. Nope.
Back to your thoughtful notes.
Other than the racial injustice from the story of Kissing Kate and Sam, I really felt that it touched a lot on the social injustice of how the system fails underprivileged youth. I was really devastated at how these boys were really failed by our system. That is 100% something I would have not understood as a child. The gravity of the circumstances that these boys were put in to make the choices that they made.
Yeah, that's part especially with like at the end with Zero and his mom, and like Zero describing him and his mom, like how they would find a place to stay or how she would tell him to stay in like this specific spot, and then when he got older stay in this specific area. I remember reading that as like, or thinking about that as a kid, but as an adult you're like, as a mom, you like hits you of like, man, that would be really challenging.
Mm-hmm. And him saying, I took those shoes because they were old. I didn't think anybody would want old shoes. I was going to take those versus new shoes.
Yeah, and he couldn't read.
He couldn't read. He was illiterate. He was trying to do the better thing of a bad, impossible situation. The negative consequences that were all destiny, quote, destiny for these boys. But it just, you really get to know not just Stanley, not just Zero, but other boys in the camp. And while there might be some unfavorable situations or some personality traits that these boys have, I feel that this book really does a good job of letting you see into like who these boys really are and how they really are just kids, and how they're treated so unfairly, and they could have had so much more done for them to help them.
Like all of the adults, I feel like fail all of the kids, all of the boys, but especially Zero. Oh, you want to learn to read? No, you're not.
You're nothing.
Yeah, you're not worth even learning how to read. I did think about that this time of why weren't the adults helping more? But that wouldn't have been a very good story.
Yeah, it wouldn't have made for a good story, but from day one, even it says when Stanley was given his hearing, his parents wanted to hear more about the camp, and the judge was like, either you can send him there or not, or he can go to jail. Like, you have to decide right now. So even that judge was not doing his due diligence about what the camp really looks like and how they're operating. Are they doing good practices or not? No, in fact, they're abusing children regularly, consistently, very badly.
Well, they all probably got really strong from digging holes, so that's a positive.
Not probably. Stanley carried a kid up a mountain.
Yeah, he could have done that before.
And he says that too. He couldn't have done that at the beginning. So
And he wouldn't have broken the curse.
Yeah.
Stanley was just trying not to be a victim of his circumstances. He was thinking of the positives and the lessons he learned.
I think Stanley's a really good character. I really like him as a character.
I like him too.
He's
goofy.
He is goofy, but he's loyal. He's like a good friend, and he's a good son. He wants to not make his mom worried, so he lies to her about which isn't great. That's not a good thing that he did, but
that was also in my notes.
He was honest to goodness, got dealt these horrible hands in life, and he was just, meh. I'm here now. I might as well make the best of it. I'm gonna teach this kid to read.
Which he says, like at the very beginning, he says, I learned from failure, but perhaps that was part of the curse as well. If Stanley and his father weren't always hopeful, then it wouldn't hurt so much every time their hopes were crushed.
Yeah.
Like just who his family was and who he was. He's just hopeful.
That was all my notes. But I do have to say, Rachel, I did have thoughts about why were they running a boys' camp when they could have just bought an excavator?
I was like, what a great idea for you not to have to dig all those holes yourself. I like how you mentioned the metal detector.
I didn't go metal
Rachel.
detector. I went straight like excavator.
Just wouldn't have been as fun. Don't you know that the warden is a sadist?
She was crazy. I love in the book also how they set it up as like a bombshell surprise. Like, boom, she's a woman.
I loved that too. I did notice that.
Love it.
Strategically always said the warden instead of he or she. And so
a kid's book or like written for a younger audience, it like the next sentence, we didn't know she was a woman.
Yeah, I bet you were. It commented that in the book. Like, were you surprised that the warden was a woman? Like, forcing the kid to think about that.
You bring that up. There are two very strong female characters in the book, very like women in power characters. I want to look into his reasoning behind writing those characters and if that wasn't like intentional. It had to have been intentional.
I'm sure it was, yeah.
But just now I have to go and look that up after we're done and maybe his thoughts on it.
Who's ready for a pop quiz?
Let's do it.
All right. These are pretty hard. I was really proud of myself. So, number 1. Why was Mr. Sir in such a bad mood?
Because
he quit smoking
during the sunflower season instead.
I don't know who got that because he didn't ding.
Okay, but this is the thing.
I was more full in my answer.
You have to call on the person to answer the question before we answer it.
So glad that one was easy. Okay. So say ding. Don't say your answer until I call on you. Okay?
Okay.
Number 2. What is the term for a word that is spelled the same forward and backward, like Stanley Yelnat's name?
It's not... You didn't call on me.
You have to say ding.
Ding? I put my finger up. You can see me.
You have to say ding for the people.
Yes. Victoria.
It's not an anagram? No.
You're thinking.
I can't remember.
Think.
Words are hard.
They didn't say this in the book, Rachel. This is just knowledge you have to know.
Did they not say it? I think they did.
No, they did. They did say it.
Oh, they did? I know that they talk about the words backwards, but they didn't. I don't know that. I didn't think that they said the actual word.
I think they did.
Do you want me to tell you?
Race car.
Isn't that one? Yeah.
But that's the word that's the same forward and backwards. Stanley Yeltnat is just the mirror image of itself.
Well, it's the same thing.
It's a palindrome. Like race car, kayak.
Are you sure? Because it's not the same forward and backwards. It's not Stanley. It's not Hannah. Like Hannah is the same exactly spelled forwards and backwards. Stanley Yeltnat's is...
But both of them
a
would be
mirror image of itself.
Yeah.
It would just be two palindromes. Palindrome.
Yes, Stanley Yeltnat's, but not Stanley and then Yeltnats.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Like if you say Stanley Yeltnats is the same as Stanley Yeltnats, the first name and last name together are a palindrome, but Stanley is not a palindrome to Yeltnats.
Right. But does it apply to just one single word or?
No, because race car is two separate words.
Hmm.
I guess I was thinking of
More to learn.
I was thinking of, because they specifically talk about how his first name is his last name spelled backwards. I wasn't thinking of that as a combined situation. I was thinking his first name and last name as a separate situation.
So no one gets that point.
We're all losers today.
Number 3. In chapter 17, what, according to Stanley, is as calloused as his hands after being at Camp Green Lake?
Ding.
Victoria.
Yellow spotted lizards.
Nope.
That was a guess.
Ding.
Yes.
His
Fair.
heart.
Yes. He says his heart is as calloused as his hands.
Woo!
Are we counting number 1 as Victoria? Do you have 2? And Farron has 1?
How does Victoria have
1 and
2?
1. Because no one
That
got
was
2.
the third question.
Okay, you each have 1. Number 4. What does Hattie Parker say when she sees Kate and Sam together?
What does she say?
Yeah.
Ding.
Yes, Victoria.
Oh no, not Sam.
No. Farron, do you have an answer?
Gross.
He says, God will punish you.
These are really hard.
I don't
They say, like,
remember.
who does God really punish?
Okay, next question.
Okay.
I
Number 5.
didn't study for this, Rachel. Just read the book. You didn't give me a study guide.
Make you an outline. Number 5. What did Camp Green Lake become after it was sold?
Ding.
Ding.
Farron.
Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
Camp.
No, I knew that one.
Woo. Farron wins.
Yes.
Woo.
Winna winna chicken dinner.
Good job, guys.
I'm sweating. It was intense.
Aaron, don't make your quiz that hard next time.
Can I tell you a secret? I did think of some on my own, but also you can just Google Hole's review question, like whatever book it is.
Yeah.
I
Questions,
did
because
that for
teachers
To
make
Kill a
this stuff.
Mockingbird, and Rachel completely ruined that based off of her summary of the book alone.
Well, they should be a little
Her
harder. than
summary of the book alone talked about
If I made
like
the questions,
75% of the questions that I had come up with for the
what
quiz.
did the boys have to do as a punishment for their crimes?
That's silly.
Really hard.
I don't know.
All right.
All
We
right.
end every episode with something we are loving and not loving. So, Farron, start us off. What are you loving and not loving this week or this month?
This month. Okay. Well, I'm loving my baby. My new baby. It's very exciting.
He's so cute. I haven't seen him in person, but pictures is very cute.
Yes. I can't wait for you to meet him. I'm also loving that my house is very clean. That's because now I'm a stay-at-home mom. Something I'm not loving is having to do his mouth stretches after his
Oh,
tie surgeries.
so sad.
He's very sad about that. So, yeah. Okay. Victoria, what are you loving?
Let's see. What I am loving are estate sales. I have learned how much I love estate sales, and they feed my two of my hobbies, which are being nosy and really cool things for less money than they cost at retail price.
Classic.
2 of my favorite things. Especially really cool vintage stuff. And what I am not loving is how stinking cold it is outside. We went from basically summer straight into winter, hardly got any days of mild, lovely temperatures. It just went boop, boop, like summer, winter.
Mm-hmm. It did.
We have nicer weather here in Tennessee.
Except for when it's super hot outside. Don't forget that then.
Okay. It does get very hot.
You get mild winters, horrible warm months.
But there's so many swimming holes.
And humid houses.
Yeah, Farron.
Oh.
All right, Rachel, what are you loving?
I feel like if I'm being really honest, I'm loving my really ugly, cozy robe. It's like very fluffy and warm, and I love it. I've also been getting up a little bit earlier than my children, which is like hot tip number one for stay-at-home moms is like wake up a smidge earlier than your kids. But I never did that. I just always woke up with my kids. But I've been getting up just like 10 minutes earlier, and it is nice. I put my fuzzy, ugly robe on, and I'm warm. It's great. I'm trying to think of what I'm not loving.
Not loving that you can't
No, car
eat
repair.
sugar without
Oh,
consequences. Oh, cars.
with consequences. What are you talking about?
Sorry, I
Yeah,
was thinking about myself again.
Always eat sugar without consequences.
Yeah.
Not loving car repairs. I mean, even that is still like I'm okay with it because our car has been really great in that it hasn't had to have a lot of repairs, but it definitely was a very inconvenient type of repair because it would just stall or like the engine would turn off while we were driving it, which was kind of hazardous
Yeah.
and scary. But since you're the adult, like we were our whole family was in the car, and it's like you can't be scared because you're the adult and your kid is also scared. So you're like, it's gonna be fine. Yeah, it's gonna be okay. No matter what, like we're gonna be fine. He's like, now anytime we're in the car, my oldest will be like, is this car gonna turn off? Really gonna be fine.
Might have developed a smidge of your anxiety.
I don't know where he was getting that from.
No idea.
I wasn't worried about it.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to our podcast, Back to Lit Class. I hope that you enjoyed this month's book. And for next month, we are going to be reading Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. Bye.
See you later.
See you next time.
What are you laughing at?
I'm just hilarious. I have zero bleeding issues. Well, not with my clothes. Into 5th grade reading material.
I was holding a laugh and I definitely made a noise.
Okay, you hate me. Somebody else do this. I hate you all. No, you guys are making fun of me. I'm passing it. I have to read freaking 53 hours of Musashi. Stop laughing. I'm going to punch you.
I'm just gonna go on.
Bye.
Bye.
No, not at the same time.